Hey, what's up guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you're all having an awesome weekend so far. And welcome to my weekly Q&A session where you guys ask the questions and I give the answers. This is my favorite time of the week, as you all know, because it's the time of the week where I get to be as close to you as possible. I get to interact with you directly and just talk like a normal person, and I love that. So thank you all for being here. This is a great audience to have. I love all my community members, but you guys in particular just always bring it home. So thank you for being here. Before we get started, I've got two really cool updates for you. The first is in regards to a subject that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Recently, my MCN, which is a multi-channel network, Maker Studio, who's now owned by Disney, went through a series of layoffs, and as a result, they also purged over 55,000 YouTube accounts. Mine was one of them. And so I didn't really know what to do because I've been with them for 5 years. So interestingly enough, I started hunting around looking for other MCNs. I tried AdSense from Google for a little while, and I just wasn't completely sold on it. I felt like it wasn't really doing me a lot of good just to do AdSense. I feel like Maker was just better in general, and I'll talk about why in just a few minutes. So I started looking for another network. I gave AdSense 30 days, wasn't impressed. They do great work, don't get me wrong. I'm sure AdSense is great for other things. It just, for my particular, and I have a loss of words right there. So for I guess what I do, it just doesn't seem to be a fit for me. So it's a great service, not quite my fit. So I prefer to stay with an MCN. I looked all around. Of course, after Maker purged me from their organization, I got a lot of offers. It's not that unusual. Even when I'm with a network, I get a lot of offers. So I did a lot of searching around, and finally, I landed on Curse's network. And I'm sure that you've heard of Curse before. Curse Gaming, they've been around a long time. The first time I had ever heard of them when I was looking for add-ons for World of Warcraft. Yeah, I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like the game. I've been playing it off and on since 2008, so it's still there. I haven't touched it in a few months, but it's something I like to try to do from time to time. So that's how I knew them. And also, the original woman of Xbox here, a good friend of mine, Jessica Brohart, also used to work for Curse. So it kind of made sense. I had a little bit more inside information, and ultimately, when I looked on the internet, I saw a lot of negative things about all the other ones, but really couldn't find anything negative about Curse. The one video I came across that sounded like it would be was something along the lines of why I left the Curse network, and really he just had a lot of nice things to say about it. The main reason he left was because they do take a percentage of your revenue, and he felt like he could do better on AdSense. I actually asked the guy if he thought he was doing better on AdSense since he posted the video, and he never got back to me, so I'm wondering if after he did that he's like, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. And there are two schools of thoughts with MCNs. There are some people who say, hey, it's not worth it, they're just there to take your money. And then the other one is, yes, there are some benefits to MCNs. It is worth, a small amount of your revenue just to be a part of their network. And that does tend to vary depending on the MCN. Again, I see a lot of negative talk, but there is some positive talk. And going just based on my experience alone, I've had positive experiences with MCNs, or at least the ones that I've joined. So, this seems to be a decent way to go. For those of you who are wondering what the positives are, back in the day before partnerships on YouTube were weren't quite as easy to obtain, it was easier to get those partner features if you joined an MCN. Obviously, that's changed a little bit since then. Also, back in the day, gaming videos tended to be a bit more strict when it came to copyright content. Being a part of an MCN gave that a little bit more leniency. Nowadays, it's still not that big of a deal. I think gamer companies are beginning to realize that it's basically free advertising for them, so they don't really do a lot about it. Aside from maybe Nintendo, I've found that whenever I post something Super Mario related, they tend to not like that very much, which is okay. It's understandable. It's their property. And of course, no one's really going out and buying Super Mario Brothers for the NES anymore, so I understand that. But another thing they do is they kind of serve as a firewall between you and your channel. So if you feel like that there's someone maliciously attacking your channel, trying to get you a copyright strike or anything like that, generally speaking, MCN can serve you as a buffer. That does not guarantee that you'll get out of it. It just is a buffer to help you get out of it. So it's nice to have them around. Curse in particular takes away far less in terms of percentage of my revenue than any other company that I've ever come across. So that's why, I thought this was a pretty good, a safe bet, and especially because their contract is not binding. With a lot of MCNs, usually you have to sign a contract that lasts between 1 to 3 years. Sometimes they're 2 years or whatever, but with Curse, you can leave at any time. And after talking to people who have been with the network and literally don't owe them anything, they said, yeah, it's easy to get out. They're very tentative. And I believe that it's kind of a bit more exclusive. I noticed there are not as many members in Curse, which is a good thing because that means that they can focus more on you instead of, one person over there having to focus on 10,000 people. The requirements, again, are a little bit higher than most. And that's what I've recognized. Usually people are like, oh, well, if you get 80 views a month, you qualify. And of course, I get, anywhere between 250,000 to 300,000 views a month on average currently. So, it's kind of weird how that goes. But for those of you who are interested, if you're trying to get into your own content, you want to give the MCN concept a try, I'll put a referral link in the description, which will take you right to the page to apply. So if you qualify, you want to do it, that's cool. If not, hey, it's totally understandable. The other good news I have for you today is, so next week, or just it's really an update. But next week, as I've been talking about, I'll be starting my YouTube live broadcast on not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So, I've been debating about this for a while. Basically, this will just allow me to shorten my monologues at the beginning of my Saturday Q&As and allow live, direct interaction with you guys. Just brings me a step closer to you, the community, and that's what I'm really feeling here. I've loved my Saturday videos so much. You guys seem to like them too, so I want to extend that a little bit. So we're just going to try this for a while, see if people do like it. I was batting back and forth whether or not I wanted to go with Twitch or YouTube. YouTube does seem to be the better option since that is my main platform. That doesn't mean I won't be using Twitch at all from time to time, just probably not for my live broadcasts. So that's the way this is going to work out. I'll start testing it this week just to make sure everything's in line. So if you see something in your inbox saying MythicTyrant went live or something like that, you don't necessarily need to jump to it. It's just me testing it. And so that's all there is to it, but I am looking forward to it. I'm planning on having some special guest stars on, so that should be a lot of fun. And one thing that I would like to do throughout this live broadcast series is have some of you guys on too, especially those of you who comment a lot and I've gotten to know you really well. I'd love to have you on just to talk to you, just to hear your views about Halo, what other stuff you like to play. So more than likely I'll reach out to you at some point. The way you want to do that though is to try to reach out or to follow me on Twitter. That seems to be a better medium. But I will also, probably shoot messages through YouTube inboxes as well. Now, of course, you do not have to be on there, obviously. So if I send you an invite and you say, nah, it's not really for me, or I don't really have the equipment to talk to you directly, hey, I understand. It's totally cool. No obligation. But I do want to feature some of you who especially have been longtime subscribers and are, constantly showing support or just, being there for me in general. I would really love a chance just to be able to showcase you and what you want to do and just who you are as a person. So I can't wait to start doing that. Again, right now the plan is for next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you are too. So let's start getting into the Q&A session. Before I actually start the first question, remember how this works. So basically every week I pick 12 questions out. That seems to be a good number. And the way you enter is simple. Just comment in the comment section below to ask your question, and then I'll pick it and feature it in the next video. If I miss it for some reason, maybe it's just I had too many questions that week or something along those lines, just copy and paste it into the following week's video. Or you can just reach out to me directly on Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter yet, that is the best way to reach out to me and communicate with me, because I see those a lot easier than the comment sections, because I get lots of comments every day, but I don't get as many tweets, so it's easier in that regard. A link to my Twitter account is in the description below. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and get started with this week's Q&A session. Our first question comes from Extreme8435. He actually reached out to me on Twitter, so good example. And Extreme asked, Tyrant, if Halo 6 is the last Halo game, does that mean you're all done? Or is there going to be more to come? This is a really good question, and it's one that I've wanted to address for a while. I just didn't know how to do it. In short, yes, I want there to be more to come. I don't want, the end of Halo, whether it's due to them stopping the production of Halo games or just because the series becomes a lot less popular and less relevant. I do want to do other stuff. As I've showcased throughout my channel over the last 7 years, there are quite a few other games and franchises that I'm interested in. The problem that I seem to have here is there doesn't seem to be a lot of reception from my community when it comes to playing these other games. I've pretty much started dedicating my Wednesdays to other games, with the exception of my upcoming 6-part Halo project that I'm doing, which I'll probably start doing within the next few weeks. But aside from that, usually I just do reviews on games. What I'm going to start doing in the future is, updates on upcoming titles and things of that nature to try to get other people's attention, to try to, show, hey, yes, he does do other stuff aside from Halo. It's not easy to do that because this is seen as a Halo channel. That's how it started out. It's going to be dominantly a Halo channel until, either I stop posting or Halo stops producing content, one way or the other. But I do want to produce other stuff, so just keep in mind, Wednesdays are the days that I go into other games, whether it's through a review or an update or whatever. If you look at my playlist, Tyrant's full game runs, I have a lot of other full game runs other than Halo, so definitely check those out. Not all of them are even current games, some are retro games, some are way back from the systems of NES, TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis, all that good stuff. So if you like that stuff, definitely check out that playlist. I'll even put a link to that in the description below too, so you can check it out. But thanks for asking that, Extreme. Thank you. Our next question comes from Bingo. Always good to hear from you, man. Is that your name, by the way? So Bingo asks, community playdates on Twitch, Tyrant? This is a good question too. A while back, I talked about doing community play dates maybe on Saturdays after I've finished with the Q&A session. Originally, the plan for this was to set up my own Halo PC dedicated server and run off of that. I've run into issues there. Not sure what the problem is. People tell me that they can see the name of my server in the playlist, but they cannot enter it. So it's probably a firewall issue on my end. I've tried everything that I can think of at this point. And keep in mind, I was an IT engineer for 14 years, and for whatever reason, I can't figure it out. I've tried putting it on different computers, everything, and just it doesn't work. So in terms of play dates, I think people have mentioned this in the forum. Yeah, I absolutely would love to do some Warzone firefight and other cool stuff. I do need to get more acquainted with that. I'm not really used to playing with other people, since usually when I get on my Xbox, it's strictly to work. So if I can get that figured out in a way that I can just, invite people in and just have a fun time, I absolutely, we can start doing that in the near future, hopefully. So, yep, that's something I want to do. I just got to nail it down a little bit better, especially, with the YouTube live broadcast coming up. Let me get that settled first, and then I'll add a little bit more stuff. But thanks for stopping by, Bingo. Always good to see you. Our next question comes from Michael Thornton. And Michael asks, what is your favorite Halo game? Easy. Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST. I know that those are two separate games, but I consider ODST to simply be an expansion on Halo 3. Same bad guys, same, engine and all that stuff, same graphics. Well, slightly more polished than ODST, but hands down, Halo 3. If you want to check out my Halo Time Travel and Evolution video, I actually give like a 15-minute review on it. So that basically covers exactly why. But essentially for me, that was the pinnacle of Halo. You had the file share, you had Firefight introduced with ODST, you had theater mode for campaign and multiplayer, you had skulls that once you collected them, they were always in the menu, and of course Halo 3 is what pretty much gave a name for me in the Halo community. So Halo 3 by far, so good question, Michael. Our next question comes from Fotis Eternal. What does that stand for? Fotis is all capitalized, so I'm guessing Otis is of the United States. I wonder what the F is for. So Fotis Eternal asks, would you like to see a Halo game that's a bit violent, like a spin-off game that has a lot more gore in it, and it could be maybe a Flood-styled spin-off game? I wouldn't mind seeing a Flood spin-off game, but in terms of violence, that's not really Halo. Halo's always been a borderline cartoonish franchise. You know, you can see that with the grunts. You know, with Halo 1, you can see with the Marines more, they were a little bit more goofy in that game. So, yeah, to me, it's always supposed to have been a borderline cartoon type game. That's where, you know, 343's Halo starts getting a little bit strange because they take it a lot more seriously in those games. So I don't want to see it get more gritty than it already has. You know, just kind of keep on the course, or maybe better yet, just sort of make it more cartoonish like the old days with Bungie. But that's a cool question. Thank you. Our next question comes from Golden Elite 10. Always good to see you too, Golden. And Golden asks, do you think we'll see more of the Arbiter in this game than the last one? And I think he's referring to Halo 6. In short, it would not surprise me. If Halo 6 is indeed the final chapter to the Reclaimer saga, and they've already gone to the trouble of introducing the Arbiter and even taking us to San Helios, it does stand to reason that he's going to play a major role in this game. Honestly, I think the humans, the UNSC, they're going to need all the help they can get to go against Cortana or whatever the major threat is. So the Swords of San Helios can be a huge help. And after Fireteam Osiris helped them out with the Battle of Sanion, I think they kind of owe him one anyway. And of course, with the ending of Halo 5, we saw the Master Chief and the Arbiter together. So yes, I do think the Arbiter is going to be there, and I think he's going to have a major role. In terms of whether or not he's going to be more in-game, I've had a theory in the past that I think that there's still going to be a squad system in Halo 6, and that the Arbiter is likely to be one of those soldiers. So excellent question, Golden. Always good to hear from you. Our next question comes from Villain Caustic. And Villain asks, actually I think he pronounces it Villian, but Villain. And he asks, you skipped my question last week. I'm sorry, dude. But he asked, what place in Halo and Red vs. Blue would you like to go and why? I'm not really sure anywhere in the universe that's specifically defined, simply because it seems like everywhere they go is a complete death trap. But if we're going the space route here, I would say Saturn. Saturn's always been my favorite planet. I know it's not really mentioned in Halo, but it's always been my favorite planet. It's beautiful, it has the rings, and it even has a moon on there that might, mind you, be capable of sustaining human life, or a possible route for colonization in the future. And of course, if you did that, you'd have a perfect view of Saturn every day and night. So Saturn would be a place I'd want to visit. I know the planet itself is a gas giant, so I don't think you can actually land on it, but being able to just be in range and being able to see it would be pretty awesome. So good question, thank you. Our next question comes from Maximum Rage Quit. Uh-oh. About to say, you might want to take, no, I won't even go that route. But Maximum Rage Quit asks, would you rather have a perfect art style or perfect gameplay? Easy, gameplay. You know, a lot of people are going to see it the other way. Art style being important. For me, the art style has always been different from Halo game to Halo game, whether you're talking between Halo 1 and Halo 2 or Halo 2 to Halo 3, whatever, it's always been slightly different. So the art style has never really mattered to me at all. The gameplay is what's important. When I play a video game, that's what it's for. Even when it comes to the story, I'd rather have better gameplay than a better story. Look at Halo 3, for example. I thought the story was kind of meh, but the gameplay was awesome, and that's why it's made the top of my list for the best Halo game of all time. So thank you for asking, Maximum. I appreciate you stopping by. Our next question comes from Luke Hodgson. And Luke simply asks, Johnson or June? Oh, that's an easy one. Johnson! Honestly, we really don't know much about June, at least in terms of the video games. He's a cool guy, don't get me wrong, but you can't compare him to Johnson. Johnson's just awesome, man. He's got all those kick-ass one-liners, and honestly, if the Master Chief went around, I'm pretty sure Johnson could still get the job done. Heck, he survived the Flood in the first Halo ring, so that in and of itself is something. So you gotta give Johnson lots of credit here. Love the guy, definitely would pick him over June. So thanks for that. That's a cool question, though. I always love talking about Johnson. He's a badass. Our next question comes from Ethan the Amazing HD, as opposed to Ethan the Amazing Standard Edition. So Ethan asks, who's your favorite character in Halo 3 ODST? Oh, that is also a no-brainer. I have to say Buck. And it's not because, well, you know, interestingly enough, he used to annoy the crap out of me just because he would always talk so much. He would always drive kind of wonky. So he annoyed me at first until I actually got to talk to Nathan Fillion about it. and didn't realize it was the same guy. So honestly, just because I've gotten to know Nathan's work more over the last, several years, hands down, he has become my favorite character. He is the best comic relief you can have for a Halo game that isn't a grunt. So definitely Buck, definitely Nathan Fillion all the way. Thanks for stopping by, Ethan. That was a great question. Our next question comes from Jay Romero. Is that any relation to Sheriff Romero from Bates Motel by any chance? And Jay asks, how would you feel about Halo possibly becoming a virtual reality game in the future? Honestly, I would love that. I think that would be a cool step to take. I don't really know how it would work in terms of like running and jumping and things like that. I've seen prototypes out there where people have like a spinning treadmill in terms of like running and stuff like that. So it would be cool to have. I imagine those are not cheap. You're probably talking thousands of dollars on those things. But if they can find a way to integrate Halo into a virtual reality game, I think that would be awesome, and I would definitely play it. So that's a great question. Thank you. Our next question comes from Blackwing799. And Blackwing asks, should Halo stories be simple or more complex? This probably depends on who you ask. Honestly, when it comes to video games, I tend to go what I call the KISS route, which means keep it simple, stupid. I'm pretty sure that's something that your grandpa says, but I'm getting pretty old myself now. Again, with video games, I'm not really that concerned about the story as long as it makes sense. I feel like with the way Halo's going, they're trying to make it bigger than it is. They're overcomplicating it, and as a result, they're leaving a lot of critical stuff out of the games. Remember, the way they're sort of operating at the moment, and I hope this does change, but at the way they're operating at the moment, they're including a lot of stuff from the books in the games, which would be fine if it didn't mess with the main story so much. In Halo 5, they introduced Blue Team, and of course the last time I heard anything about Blue Team was in Halo First Strike. So I'm kind of like, I thought Master Chief was supposed to be the last of his kind. That's pretty much what they were driving forward in the original Halo. So the fact that they're all of a sudden showing up and it doesn't explain this at all in the game just is a little bit jarring. So I would rather have a more straightforward story that I can understand rather than having to always check the Halo wiki or having to look at books or having someone correct me in the comments section because there was something I missed from another story. I want to make sure I have my facts straight. So for me, I'd rather have a simpler story. Do I want an engaging universe? Absolutely, and I think Bungie managed to do that pretty well, and I'm hoping that 343 can take some notes from that era and apply that to the latest Halo game. And our final question of the day comes from Patrick Thomas. Always good to see you, Patrick. And Patrick asks, what do you think of a Halo Harvest? So he's asking basically, instead of a Halo Reach, what about a Halo Harvest? I think that's an awesome idea. Right now, I feel like they're sort of expanding the content in a way that is getting a little bit too twisted, a little bit too complex. I'm not sure how Halo 6 is going to end, but one thing is for sure that I would love to see is just a step back and looking at some of the earlier events that happened in the Halo series, even prior to the events of Halo Combat Evolved. We've read a lot of these things in books, just a lot of the first contacts with Blue Team and Red Team and all the other Spartans out there, along with other UNSC members. And it would be cool to be able to see their side of it, or just what happened in these particular instances. I don't know if you can make an entire game out of Harvest. If you look at Halo Wars, you spent like 3 missions on the planet. And honestly, by the way they were advertising the game, I thought pretty much most of the game, if not all of it, would take place on Harvest. But I do think that it's an interesting idea. It's one I would certainly buy. And who knows, it may even be in the works right now. I imagine that they're probably working on several spin-off games because that's what they have been doing the past few years. If you look at Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, and now Halo Wars 2, they're branching off and creating games that revolve around other characters and other events that have happened in the Halo universe. I certainly think that it's a possibility. It would not surprise me if we see that sometime in the near future, and I certainly hope we do. So that concludes today's Q&A. Thank you all so much for asking these questions. Thank you for just tuning in every week. You have no idea how much that means to me. You're a great audience. I love talking to you, and I love just having these interactions with you. So if you like this video, Please click that subscribe button for more video game related content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on MythicTyrant.com. Of course, we have Q&A Saturdays, we have Sunday Fun Days, and starting next week, we're going to try out our live broadcast. Just out of curiosity, before we actually bring this to a close, talk to me a little bit about the last question. Halo Harvest, is this something that you would like to see? And if not, what would you like to see portrayed in a game in the Halo universe? And of course, you can always let me know in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter. Links to my social media can be found in the description below. I do have Facebook too, I'm just not on it as much. So it's always good to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.